Now you see this sign? What does that remind you of? Well, it's the famous sign of Sir Winston Churchill, and behind me is Blenheim Palace, his birthplace. What's that got to do with bikes? Quite simple. This was the place for the launch of the Victory, a brand new American motorcycle. Now, when I said a brand new American motorcycle, that's what I meant, but in fact there's actually two. There's another reason for a V sign, because this one is the cruiser, which I'm sure you can see. The other one is a sport cruiser, but they both share this massive engine. Now, this engine is Victory's very own engine. It's not a clone, it's not a copy of anyone else's. Massive V-twin, as you can see, 1507cc, which actually works out at 92 cubic inches, because that's what the Yanks work in. And in fact, this one, V92C, that's where the 92 comes from. It's modern, 4-valve head, overhead cam, and it's also got fuel injection. The rest of the cycle parts, the frame and whatnot, that's shared with the other one, but for now, I'm going to concentrate on the cruiser. First thing you notice is, like all bikes of this type, it's big, like 631 pounds or 286 kilos in Euro speak. But once rolling, the weight's so low you really don't feel it. Even pottering around town, it all feels very manageable. What you do feel though is that great big lump of a V-twin heart throbbing away beneath you. It's not at all unpleasant, it's just there, reminding you that this is real heavy metal. Okay, Victory motorcycles. Well, who are they? Well, they're made by the Polaris company, and no, they don't make missiles, but what they do make is the world's top-selling snowmobile. And they're also second only to Honda in the sale of ATVs, so they're a big outfit, and they also make jet skis. The one bit missing from their portfolios was motorcycles, so they were big into recreational vehicles. Why not make a motorcycle? And that's what they've done and made too. So what else have we got? Well, first off, I'm going to take this jacket off because it's a beautiful day and far too hot to wear leather jackets. So put that down on the floor. And one thing I didn't say about this engine, see all this finning, they are actually used for cooling. It's actually hot as well at the moment, but it's oil and air cooled. So there's a little radiator down here and there's two oil pumps in there, one for the lubrication, the other one for the cooling. So it gives a nice visual effect for custom, but it's also got the high-tech oil cooling as well. Coming up to the front here, you can see these massive forks. These are in fact the Italian Marzocchi forks with great big hefty stanchions. And they're typical cruiser on how broad they are across the forks. See it? With big chunky cast aluminium wheels. And these, if you can see them, they've got a very fat tyre, which isn't sort of that fashionable to ordinary sports bike and everyday riders. But it's a little 16-incher big tyre, and it accentuates the depth of the tyre there. All very cruiserish. If we come around the other side, excuse me, crossing in front of the camera there. Down here it's got footboards and a rocking pedal gear shift, and if you're not used to that, it does feel a bit odd. Press down for first gear and the lower gears, press back when you're actually changing up. So it takes some getting used to, but it does save you marking your boots. And when custom cruisers are all about style, who wants to take the polish off your boots? So that's what that's all about. Back to the front wheel, you can see it's got a single disc there. And interestingly, we're always mentioning the good old firm Brembo, but it's got Brembo calipers on. And these brakes really are good, steel braided hoses too. So engineering wise, it's all the business. In this massive primary chain case here, it's gear driven, there's no chain or belt in there. Main gear there, idler gear in the middle, and there's also a conical shock absorber inside it, and so that takes any big shock impulses out of the drive chain. Unusual, very clever. It's got a 5-speed gearbox, and that feeds through to belt drive transmission to the rear wheel. No nasty, messy chain there. The rear suspension unit is actually hidden under the seat in the top frame rails just there. And it gives this sort of hardtail look to it because it looks like a rigid rear, but it's not. All this subframe hinges from there. So you get a nice, compliant ride. Now sitting on it, the seat height itself is very low. In fact, they've designed it for someone just 5'4" tall, and you can see I sit on it dead easy. Big wide tank, but it's narrow where it matters here, so you can get your feet down dead easy. And look at these handlebars. These are absolutely Arnie Schwarzenegger jobs. Massive, I just haven't got the arms for it really. All these levers, see the front brake and the clutch lever, they're massive, all to give this sort of custom cruiser look. Very beefy, and they work well as well. Down here, you can see it's got a speedo, which is an analog reading speedo and rev counter, but in fact it's all electronic. And if that hasn't confused you, and I switch on the old ignition here, In there, if you can just about see, it's a little window, and that's got everything you could possibly want. There's a clock in there, there's engine temperature, there's a fuel gauge, there's absolutely everything. It's also got four-way hazard flashes, which is pretty neat. And what else has it got I can tell you about? Self-cancelling indicators, which again is neat. They turn themselves off after 20 seconds, which is pretty useful. The mirrors themselves here, they're good. Nice clear view. You've got none of this problem that I normally complain about of only seeing elbows. You can get a clear view of the rear, so they work fine, and so pretty honky-dory. Ride a cruiser and you ride differently. You do ride more relaxed because you have to. The bars are high and wide while you're low and laid back, so what do you expect? You've also got around 62 brake horsepower and 75 to 80 foot-pounds of broad fat torque at the back wheel, but you don't really need any more. If you feel you do, you've probably got the wrong bike. As it is, you open the throttle and with an exhaust reminiscent of subdued cannon shots from the massive pistons, you surge away and rock your way up through the 5-speed gearbox. Before you know it, you're soon on your own bit of Route 66, even if it is more likely to be the A626. For a brand new bike in an established sector, it feels really sorted, and I reckon it will be a serious competitor to Harley. The standard cruiser will cost you £12,495, and a dealer network is being set up right now.